What's up? I'm your host, Kaylin Austin, and welcome to Real Teens Real Talk, where it's our mission to create a platform for young people to discuss key issues that affect them and the lives of their peers. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I sat my son down, explained it to him, simple, uncomplicated.
I didn't know what he was talking about. And he was nervous and sweating.
If you need help talking to your kids about drugs, call for this free book.
Alright, so today we're going to discuss racism. And before we do that, I just want to give a brief definition of racism. Racism is the belief that all members of a race possess characteristics or abilities specific to that race, especially to distinguish it as inferior or superior to another race or races, and also prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one race is superior. So basically thinking that your whole group is better than another group. So with that being said, I just want to start off the first question. Well, first I want to tell you, I experienced it before. A couple weeks ago, I was at a dollar store, and I walked in there, and this lady says to me, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey, the EBT machine not working." And so I'm like, do all of us use EBT machines? I just wanted to know. But, I didn't say anything, though. I just looked at her like, really? Okay. That's what we do now.
Wait,
right.
It was as soon as you walked in?
Legit. I walked in, and she was like, "I'm sorry, the EBT machine's not working." But she said it serious. It wasn't No, she was like, "You use EBT, but it's not working." Like that. I was like, wow.
She knew.
She thought, I don't know, maybe because we was downtown, and they just get that thought that everybody walks into the Rath building. I don't know what it was. But it caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting that. So, yeah, that was my little bit of racism. I don't like that, but it's all good. So after hearing this, has anybody ever experienced that or a prejudice thrown towards them, and how did it make you feel if you did experience it?
Yeah. Like when I go in the Family Dollar and they follow me, I'm going to get some soap or deodorant or something, and they follow me everywhere. It's they be right there acting like they getting something, but they never pick something up and act like they on the phone, but they not talking to nobody. So
they're watching you through the store, make sure you don't pocket anything.
Yeah,
Now, how do you feel about that?
I feel like that's I feel like it's racist because why? Because I'm black? Because I'm in the store? All black people steal stuff? And it's not just black people as a race that steal stuff. It's other races that does that too.
True. Kenya, how about you?
The other day, there is this older woman, an older Caucasian woman, and she was working on some gardening work next door, and then she ringed our doorbell, and I answered the door, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, your mom has so many kids." I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Do you know who your father is?"
Wow.
That was rude. On all levels.
She said, "Well, do you have a name?" I said, "Yes. Yes, I do. So you know your name and your father's name, right?" No.
Okay.
No.
I am Pinocchio.
Okay, that was different.
That was different. Nobody ever asked me if I knew who my father was. That's crazy.
No one ever asked me if I knew who my own name was.
Right, that's true.
That was left
You know your name?
Do you know your name? Obviously.
So what was your response to her?
I said, "Ma'am, I do have a name. I'm not going to tell you it because I don't know who you are, but I do have a name. Yes, I know my father. Is there anything else you need? No? You just want to know if the little black child had a name?"
And what was her response to you?
She said, "Oh, well, I just need to know if I can use the trash can."
All that for a trash can.
So you need to know if I knew who my dad was,
Wow.
so you can use my trash can.
So how did that make you feel, though? Her... I kind of feel like that was kind of petty. You wanted trash can, but you asked me a whole bunch of different questions to get to the trash can. So how did that make you feel? What was going through your mind?
I don't even know. I saw red for a second. I just stared at her He was like, "Now you know. You saw my dad walk out this house 2.5 minutes ago."
Oh, I didn't know he was there.
He was there.
That's deep.
That's deep. All right, Maya, what about you?
I don't know if it's necessarily a racist situation. It's like I'm always told that I'm an Oreo because I speak proper. It's always like, oh, you're trying to be something you're not. You're trying to be white so bad because I don't speak slang. And then this other time I got into this debate with this kid who was white, of course. And I don't know how it started. He just was like, I'm like, because he was judging a book by its cover, basically. He was the one who said it. And I'm like, well, how do you speak white? And then he's just like, am I white? And I'm like, if you call yourself white, then yeah. And then I'm like, well, the political correct term would be Caucasian. And he's like, he lifted up a white piece of paper and he's like, so am I this color? I'm like, no. And then I was like, well, then you can't call me black then. He's like, of course not, you're African. So we got into that debate. So I just felt some type of way about that. How you can tell me I'm African, but I can't tell you you're white.
How did that make you feel when he called you Oreo? Because I haven't been called an Oreo, but I've been called like, oh, you trying to be white? Yeah, like
It doesn't affect me as much as it used to though. It's just like I correct people. I'm just like, just because I don't speak slang does that mean that I'm trying to be something I'm not. It's a way to speak, and then it's a way not to speak. So I wasn't really affected.
That's good. Lauren.
I mean, as far as racism, I haven't experienced racism like head on, like face to face, but I have seen like a few of my friends, we would walk into a store, you know, they'll automatically think because it was a group of black boys, you know, that we were up to no good. So, but as far as like racism, only thing I've ever experienced with like people or like a Caucasian male approached me one day when I was in the store. And he came up to me and he said, "You must play ball." And I was like, "What did you say?" You're a big guy. You're a big guy and all that. But I mean, that could be like a height issue. I mean, it don't have to do with my skin color, but yeah, that's about it.
I've heard that before though, because like they assume that because you're black, all you're gonna do is play basketball, football, and that's like your life. You don't know how to read, write, or nothing else. Like I've seen that like legit happen. Like, oh, you must be a ball player. Like, why must he be a ball player?
Or you get that thing that's surprised, like, oh, how old are you? And they're like, I'm surprised you don't have kids. Like my mom gets the whole thing where they're like, you're not a grandmother, and she's like, no, none of my kids have kids, and she still gets that till this day.
They do it to my mom. That's crazy. Like, your daughter, she's 21. She ain't got no kids.
like it's a surprise.
Yeah, it's you know.
Like
okay, people
I
are
in college.
Thank you.
Like now
Right.
people are the same.
Now, after hearing the definition of racism, why do you believe other ethnic groups feel the need to feel superior? Like, why do you think that they feel like they're better?
Because of past, like, events that happened. So, like, they just feel that way since, like, we were lower than them back in the day, but, like, now everything is equal now, but they don't want to accept it.
No, I don't even think it's like that, to be honest. It's like, who came up with the idea to say, you know, we're better than them.
Right.
You know, let's make them slaves and teach them what we want. Like, where did that come about? You know?
I think it came from when, like, European settlers, when they came away from Britain, they actually came to settle in America because they didn't like how they were treated under king's law, so they wanted to be their own people, so they wanted to be superior to something. And since there was really nothing else to be superior to, they decided, you know what, why don't we take this other race? They don't look like us, so we might as well make them feel like they're dirty because look at us, we have whiter skin. So
It just amazes me how something so little as skin color determines how people treat one another. Like, we all bleed red, so we're all the same type of person. Like, no matter what skin color, we're the same. And it seems it's always majority over minority, no matter what. Like, you'll get a better job depending on your skin color these days or your level of education. But there's racism no matter how hard we try to ignore it. It's still there. No matter if it's somebody physically saying it or not, it's still there.
But now, why do you believe that? Because some people may say, oh, they let President Obama become president, so it's gone.
No, because they still like trash Obama every day.
True.
Yeah, no matter what he do.
Like, I had a teacher.
Like, no matter what he does, like, it's always, oh, well, he messed up the economy. Like, it's always something.
It's basically numbers. certain groups outnumber other groups. Like, since numbers have power, so like if a majority of a group has a lot of people, they're gonna have more power over another group.
No, what were you getting ready to say?
Oh, I was gonna say, when I was still in Catholic school, there really was only about 4 black kids in there, and I had a teacher, and we did like these mini classroom polls about who we wanted to be president, and of course, a lot of people picked Obama. And this teacher, she really looked at us all. She said, "I have a feeling you all picked Obama just because he's black, and you guys just want a black president."
That's how some people use it, though.
That's
When
like,
he first became president, I mean, we were like really young, 2012. So,
Yeah.
I mean, my first reaction was I want him to be president because he's black. But as over the years, that's not the only reason. Like, I feel like he's a good president.
Understandable. Because they'll say, you know, because of him being president, that racism, like, I feel like a lot of times people try to mask it and say, like, it's not really there anymore because we're not, you know, spraying you guys with water hose. So it's like, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like it's still there.
It's just covered.
Right. A little bit. Because now it feels like it's trying to come back up because of social media and, you know, different ways. Like, certain things, like, before, like, they could tape somebody, you know,
but
letting a dog out. But, like, now it's like, oh, we see you. And then, you know, like that. My next question would be, why do you believe the spirit, quote unquote, of racism rests so heavy on our nation? Because I don't really, like, I know everybody deals with certain things, but I feel like the U.S. has, like, such a big rep for that. Like, everywhere. Like, it doesn't matter what city, state you're in, it's something racist going on. So why do you think it's so heavy on the U.S.?
People's mindset. You see something and whether you agree with it or not, it's going to happen again and again and again, like monkeys see, monkeys do. If one person thinks it's okay, then why wouldn't the next person think it's okay?
So do you think it's taught?
Yes and no. It doesn't matter who your parents are. Like, your parents could be racist, but you couldn't be. It depends on, like, I think it all depends on people's views on the situation in general. I mean, you're going to always have that your parents are racist or don't like black people. You're still going to have that, but you don't have to be your parents.
Sure. So how do you think that we could change the mindset?
I don't think you really can change the mindset because at the end of the day, people are still going to think what they want to think. So, I mean, I think it can be better, like, not ignoring the issue. Like, everyone tiptoes around racism. Like, it's just not there. It's in the shadows. I think if you address the issue at hand, then it can be better.
What are your comments on it, Dwight?
Start little by little so we can try and change it. Like, teach one group about it, then hopefully they'll go out and teach other groups about it, and probably it can change.
I mean, I think sometimes America, they can make you like an opportunist, but at the same time, it like institutionalize you. So I think in order to like fix that, I mean, you can put certain rules, but people don't like really obey rules or laws.
What do you mean by they institutionalize you?
Like, as far as like being, like you said, having stereotypes against certain groups, certain like minorities, you know. So, yeah.
Like, we all do things a certain way. We all talk slang. We all,
right.
you know. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not subjected to race.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
I think America seems like a super racist country because of, one, how diverse our population is, and then so because of how diverse it is, we are always going to have certain ethnic groups who don't like each other. So that's one thing. And another thing is, it is kind of taught in households, even though if your parents are racist, you don't have to be racist yourself, but you're still taught that because a baby isn't born racist.
Right.
So
That's true.
Observation.
yeah,
What
they
you
have
see.
to have seen it somewhere or heard about it or have some type of seed planted into them for them to actually think, oh, well, I'm better than him because I'm white and he's black. Or then I'm Albanian and he's Chinese.
Now, do you guys think that the people who make our decisions, like the president or a congressman or, you know, House of Representatives, do you think that they see racism and do you think that they care at all about it?
They see it, but they might not care about it because if like they have the numbers, they can choose like violence?
I think they definitely know that it is around, and I think they do see it.
Mm-hmm.
But like Dwight said, they don't pay attention to it that much because, say they actually address it, and then they address it in a way that one group feels is wrong towards them, then they lose all those votes. So it's really just about numbers and
So
the
it's
power
about
that they get from
Support,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you address it, you lose support.
It's better to stay neutral and not pick a side.
So I'm not gonna stand up for what's right because they're not gonna vote for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like with Obama when he passed the gay marriage, and he said to the people, he said, you know, for the nation, yeah, but for my family, nah. So he sometimes, I guess, in certain situations, you have to compromise your character, you know, in order for a nation to function, or a group or society or a group of people.
Do you think that's okay?
We all want to be liked, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether we say we want to be liked or not,
You want to be liked. Like, I want people to like me too.
You wanna be
but you only want to go
supported.
so far.
because
yeah, but in the position he's in, though, I feel like he's stuck. Like,
he's trying to run a nation because that's his personal belief. Like,
And like
he,
this is the
like,
end of
he
his
can't worry
presidency,
about,
too.
like, his family and the nation. Like, oh, well, I approve of this. Well, the nation thinks differently.
yeah.
Well, okay, she said it's the end of his presidency. So then, if it's the end, like, who cares? That like, you know what I'm saying? So that's just a question.
Because it's
Because
like
it'll leave a
you don't
lasting
want to
image.
get written down as a president who didn't do anything, who messed
Yeah.
everything up.
He's already been judged because of him being black. So that's just
Yeah.
adding more fuel to the fire.
And gay marriage was a lot of pull that came with like a lot of people, you know. So a lot of people went from not liking Obama, he's this and that, to wow, Obama, he's great, I love him. You know, it was all
Just
John
because
Renton.
support.
He made one
Yeah.
decision that you
Yeah.
liked. Okay.
Yeah.
Support.
He's been the greatest president. No. Yeah.
It's
I
like the
think he
president
needed
can-
those extra votes.
Yeah, he did.
He needed
like-
those extra votes.
He needs
You
some
need
support.
his percentages to come up.
Yeah.
Like
I
you
love
can
it.
do as much for the nation as you possibly can, but if you don't, not subject, but if you don't like make compromises for each group, you still get a lot of slander and you get a lot of talk. So you can still be written down as a horrible president just because you didn't give into the wishes or wants of a certain ethnic group or any other group for that purpose.
Okay. It just came to my head. In one of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s speeches, he said that he wanted his kids to be judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin.
Mhm.
Do you think that he would still be trying to have, a movement now? Like, do you think that he would be like, okay, we come up a little bit? Or do you feel like he would be like, wow, we still have a ton of work to do?
I feel like he would say we still got a lot of work to do because no matter how far we came, the stereotypes didn't just come from one person saying this. Like, if they say all black people run around screaming about child support and EBT and they're all ratchet and ghetto, they still see that somewhere. So if you don't want them to talk about you in that type of content, don't prove the stereotypes correct. So if Martin Luther King saw how our civilization has become today, I think he would be horrified. He probably wouldn't even want to still be in the movement because it's pretty much a slap in his face. Like, he died to do all this for us, and all we're doing is giving into the stereotypes yet again.
How do you feel about it, Maya?
Well, I feel like what she said, he'd be very much upset. Like, say, like, you have a jar of jelly, right?
Mm-hmm.
You take the label off and put peanut butter on it. You still know it's jelly, right? Same thing with racism. Just because you don't
That was good.
say it,
I see you.
just because you don't say it,
Right.
that it's
That
was good.
racism. Thank you. But just because you don't say it's racism doesn't mean that it's not racism.
True.
Just because you don't speak on it. And that's what everyone's doing, avoiding it. Like, so yeah, I think he'd be very much upset.
How do you feel about it?
I think if you came back today, he'll see the situation has changed, but like sometimes you just can't change the heart. I think like racism and slavery made people's hearts like hard, and people was out here angry. That's why people going around shooting people in the church because they angry, they upset, and people was retaliating, and everybody going crazy, and everybody having riots and protesting. So I think he still would be upset. He still would be trying to make these little protests and all of these rallies and stuff to try to get equality because. I mean, as far as the mindset, people is not equal, regardless of what the law, whatever the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence say, it's still in people's hearts, so you gotta change the heart.
True. Dwight.
I think that he wouldn't stop he wouldn't just stop doing protests. I think he would go even harder than he was going, making more protests, getting more people to be in the movement. Like, he wouldn't just give up. He would just keep going. And hopefully it'll get better if he was still here.
He'd definitely be appalled about the violence today because all of his messages were based on civil disobedience, like non-violence. So he'd definitely be appalled with that.
He would be appalled with us?
No,
or with
the violence though. Like,
period?
all of it together. He taught civil disobedience, non-violence, and today is just all violence, death, always.
All the time, yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like he would try to work with the African American group and any other group for that matter, because he never
like just worked with black people. He worked together.
I feel like he would try to get like the group of people that he wants to work with. I feel like he would try to get them civilized within themselves first, and then move on to that, because you can't just go around like, I want equal rights for this, and this, but then you look back and all the people you're trying to fight for are fighting themselves. So I think he would try to work within the group he wants to first, and then move on to bigger things. Like, he would have to start all the way from scratch again.
And I think he'll see us like we've come a long way, but we ain't quite there, you know. It ain't enough for you to like, oh, I came in second place. You know, you want to come in first place. So
before you said the situation changed, he would say that the situation changed, but the heart didn't. What do you mean by the situation changed?
I mean, as far as like, because, you know, back when he was living, you know, people not even being there, blacks not even be able to be in the same like classroom and stuff, like the Brown versus the Board of Education, when they couldn't even, you know, we couldn't even sit in the same room or be allowed the same jobs or the same pay. So as far as the situation, like, the circumstances changes, but people's hearts are still the same.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Oh, Maya.
Well, yeah, like when he said the situation has changed, but technically it's still the same thing. Just because you claim we're equal doesn't necessarily mean that we are equal. You can say we're equal, but we're not. I mean, it might not be, it's right in front of you, but not necessarily there. Like,
do you think that sometimes we as African Americans, do you think that we block it out on purpose just so that, you know, we don't have to think about it? And so we can, you know, get along peaceably with everybody so that, you know, we're not...
Depends on the person.
Okay. Depends on the individual.
Like, some people might just sit there because they don't want any conflict. They just want everything to move smoothly and just block everything out. Goes up through one ear and out the other. But some people stand up and fight for it.
Yeah, I think it's subconscious too. And it was a commercial. Greg had told me, he wanted the producers here. He had said it was a commercial. I think it was a Geico commercial when a Caucasian lady, she got into a car crash. And she called the car company and said, oh, I got into a car crash. They said, okay, we got you full coverage. They made another commercial with a black guy. And he called the company and he said, okay, we're going to pay half off for it. Why did she get full and he get half? Yes, that's subconscious thinking. Some people just do it just subconsciously. It's in their heart.
It's a habit.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand. I get it. I feel like, too, though, I feel like Martin Luther King, or, you know, even the people that came before him, like the past people, I feel like they would want to continue the work, but I also feel like they would say to us, okay, if you don't want to be stereotyped as all of us talk slang, then you stop. Or if you don't want to be stereotyped as, oh, I need my child support, or, you know, like you had said, then stop walking like that. You get what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he would say, like, they're wrong, but there's things you could cut down and pull back from to be what you don't want to be called. You get what I'm saying? Right. Prove them wrong. Prove them wrong. Definitely.
Or like the biggest stereotype where they say no black man goes to college.
True.
Where I think it was about 30,000 black males go. There are 30,000 more black males in college than there are in prison. But people don't see that. Like, there are pictures everywhere where you see a huge graduating class and they're all black males, but people really don't see that because all they're showing is the black males you see in prison.
That fit the
black
stereotype.
males,
And
the
I
ones
think,
that conform to the societal version of black males.
and sometimes they say, you know, sometimes it'll get worse before it get better.
Yeah.
And like they say, sometimes history repeats itself.
I feel like that's really true.
Like we came and got better. Now we're getting Now we're going back to where we came from.
A couple weeks ago, I saw a picture of Time magazine, and it was like 1960s, and it was a guy running away from the police officers that had like the gas masks or whatever they had on them.